now is launching a new battle against COVID-19 vaccines in his state.
I'm announcing a petition with the Supreme Court of Florida to impanel a statewide grand jury to investigate any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccine.
Governor DeSantis did not specify about what wrongdoing the panel would investigate, but suggested it would search for evidence to bolster claims about harmful side effects. Joining us now, NBC News senior national political reporter Mark Caputo. Mark, we'll let you talk broadly about this idea of Ron DeSantis taking on Donald Trump, but specifically this action about vaccines. What's he up to here?
Well, that's a good question. What DeSantis is definitely up to is that kind of his political brand was built in 2020, questioning expert opinion about COVID-19, response to COVID, opening schools, opening the state up, fighting vaccine mandates. And what's happened over the years is DeSantis has gone from this full-throated supporter of COVID-19 vaccines. You know, he toured the state, told people to get them, called them life-saving. And then just kind of slowly morphed as a portion of the Republican Party became anti-vax when it came to the COVID-19 vaccine. And now we're here. And when he made this announcement, it landed in Trump world as, in the words of one advisor, a shot across the bow. There's one thing that Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis definitely disagree on now, and that's the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine. That was something that Donald Trump liked to brag about, the development of these things in Operation Warp Speed under him as president. But what happened last year, it was about a year ago, at an event in Dallas, Trump talked about, hey, have you gotten your booster? Boosters are good. It was an event with Bill O'Reilly, and he got booed. And according to people that we've spoken to who have spoken to Donald Trump, this really surprised him and made him realize, like, oh, there's a portion of the Republican base that's anti-vax. Well, that space now appears to be being filled with Ron DeSantis, and it's being viewed as a threat by Trump supporters, Trump backers, Trump advisors, Trump world more broadly.
You know what's so funny about this, Mark, is, again, it's all gesturing. It's all Ron DeSantis playing, the shock opera. He wants to shock Democrats. He wants to shock the media. He wants people to scream and yell. You look at his history, though, we're starting to see a trend, right? Mm-hmm. He goes after Disney. He attacks the Magic Kingdom. He attacks Mickey Mouse. I'm taking away their tax, blah, blah, blah. The election's over. Now, suddenly we hear maybe Disney's not going to get touched. After all, it's the same thing with this election crime unit. He runs around and we see video of a lot of black Floridians being arrested. You get to the end of it after the election, and you find there's really not a whole lot there other than Ron DeSantis wanting to grab headlines. You could say the same things about him lying to migrants, getting them on a plane, flying them to Martha's Vineyard. Again, all gestures, all shock opera, no follow through. And here, now he's sounding like an anti-vaxxer from San Francisco. He's sounding like some left-wing anti-vaxxer from, 1998. But he knows the stats. He knows all the stats don't back this up. He knows there will be nothing that comes out of this investigation. Is it just more gesturing, huh?
Well, I'll be interested to see. What's interesting about the timing is the day he made this announcement, there was a study that was released saying that the COVID-19 vaccine had saved 3.2 million American lives. Now, DeSantis' tenure as governor and his management of COVID has been pretty controversial because, at a certain point, he flung the state open, and that almost coincided with the Delta wave, which really ravaged the state. But it hasn't politically affected him so far in that he just won his election by nearly 20 points, which is pretty darn big in Florida, which used to be a swing state. But it's difficult to get an answer out of the administration as to exactly what sort of lying the pharmaceutical companies allegedly did, what sort of criminal exposure they have, because during his announcement, he sort of compared this to the opioid manufacturers, and that's a pretty different sort of matter, right?
Yeah, Willie, it's just absolutely insane. And by the way, Willie, if you look at the states that had the most deaths per capita, You have a lot of states that are deep, deep red at the top of the list, where anti-vax sentiment runs as high as it used to run among hippies on the West Coast. Mississippi, Oklahoma, Alabama, West Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, you've got New Jersey in there, Louisiana, Kentucky, Georgia, and then you keep going, and there's Florida at number 12, I believe. States like California down at 40. And so, again, he understands. I mean, he'd be maybe like trying to run as the guy that got COVID right. You look at the numbers, he didn't get COVID right. I mean, he just didn't. And the same thing again with the vaccines. This is what you and I deal with every day with our friends, and the conspiracy theories, and people sending around Facebook posts, and people getting information from Chinese religious cults, and people getting information from Plandemic. I'm not shocked. I'm not stunned. I'm not playing into the shock opera. I'm just saying here's another example, just like Disney, where Ron DeSantis is going to prove at the end that he's all hat, no cattle, and it's all a big, fat, phony gesture.
Well, we will see. As John said, he's a blank canvas right now. Some people are going to fill in the blanks on Ron DeSantis as his profile continues to rise, which raises the question mark, Caputo, about those polls we just showed. Kind of eye-popping numbers at this point to have the former president of the United States, who's already announced his run, trailing Ron DeSantis by 23 points. In this poll anyway, this is obviously a big hypothetical. We have no idea if DeSantis is going to run, but talking to people around Florida, talking to people around Governor DeSantis, when they see a number like this, what does it tell them?
Well, what it tells them is kind of what you guys had said before. Is Donald Trump, since his announcement, which really hasn't gone as smoothly as anyone would have wanted in Trump world, his numbers have just continued to erode. Here in the Suffolk University poll you referenced, the pollster David Paleologos said that his numbers actually cratered, which is apparently true. But the main problem that Donald Trump has right now is he wanted to get in early. He really thought there would be a big midterm election wave for Republicans. He committed to an announcement right after the election, didn't go Republicans' way. And since then, he's just been sort of floundering. And DeSantis has had the luxury of both, and has the luxury of both time and money. His poll numbers continue to either increase or Donald Trump's continue to decrease in theoretical matchups. And DeSantis had at least $63 million in the bank after the election. And what he's done since then is he's kind of steadily taken on these issues which get people talking, get the right wing riled up, get the left wing very mad. He's also done a good job of avoiding things that he doesn't want to talk about. Right now, you wouldn't know it. In Tallahassee, there's a special session of the legislature to address a looming financial crisis with millions of Florida homeowners, and that's property insurance. And the legislature looks right now, in order to address the issue of skyrocketing property insurance rates, to pass a quote-unquote reform that's going to limit people's rights to sue and might raise rates for people and not guarantee any lower rates. And what's Ron DeSantis wind up doing? Well, he winds up talking about COVID-19 vaccines, not property insurance.
Coming